Hi, this is Paul Palmer. Today's topic is the quality management system. The core of any business, any pharmaceutical business, is a quality management system. And that's why, in general, you always get an observation. Whatever the inspectors find, whatever auditors find, it's going to be linked to the QMS. Now, that doesn't mean you've got a bad QMS. It's just the fact that the SOPs, the records, they're used everywhere. They're not just used in operations, or at least they shouldn't just be operations. Everybody should be using the quality management system. So how do you avoid that? Well, you have to make sure it's implemented. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're actually using it. I remember some time ago, I joined a company and they had a quality management system, but when I looked at what they were doing, it was not used. It was there just for the inspections. Now, the second part of it is maintained. So what does it mean by that? Well, it has to be up to date. It has to be current. It has to reflect what you're actually doing. So how do I approach this when I'm looking at a new client? If I'm going to a new site, the first thing I want to do is a review and a gap analysis, an audit as such. I look for the compliance with their own systems, make sure they're actually doing what they say they're going to do. And then I look for current records. Current records is evidence that they're actually doing it now. Of course, on a desktop audit, you can see the historical records and you can see the current SOPs. It's very difficult to do the live review of what's happening now to ensure that you've got good data integrity and that the actual quality management system is implemented. One of the risks we face at the moment with the COVID-19 pandemic is that people can't go to site. So how can you demonstrate effectively that a quality management system is implemented? In my opinion, you can't. However, we do use desktop audits. So what are you looking for? Well, you're looking for evidence of the SOPs. You're looking for evidence that they're actually doing what they say they're going to do. And also that they're meeting the requirements, the current GDP, GCP, whichever GXP you're looking at, meeting the requirements for the legislation that's in place. How do you do that? Well, for me, the actual core is in the preparation. Some people like checklists, some don't. I like to use a checklist as a prompt, an aide-memoire as such. And then if you go off tangent and you find that there's an area that needs to look at more closely, go ahead, why not? But if you find that you've covered everything that you want to cover and you complete your checklist, well, maybe that's just because they're a good company. But a core focus for me always, probably after the first day, however many days the audit is for, is usually focused on the quality management system and the records that they generate. So if you're an auditee, where do you want to focus? Well, first of all, map your business process. Make sure you know from start to finish, from setup of a product, from receipt of order, that you always have the process mapped in a way that you actually use it. So what do I mean by that? Well, of course, you could look at discrete SOPs and put a process map for each one. Yeah, so that's looking at individual parts of the process. But what you really need is a process throughout from start to finish. I like to use Visio. The Visio system, the Visio software has a good set of tools, but also it's quite easy to amend if you want to change something. So the reason I use Visio is because first of all, you want to look at where you are now and map the process, but then you want to look at gap analysis. So if you're doing gap analysis and you have to redraw everything when you've updated something, it takes a lot of time. So that's why I use Visio, because it means that you can actually slot things in, move things around, and it's actually quite easy because the software helps you to restructure it. So you map out your business process, look for your gap analysis, do your updates, and then what do you need to do? Well, it needs to align with your SOPs, your work instructions, maybe your policies, and then, of course, your records, the forms that you use that are associated with. Then implement. Train the people, let it go, and look at it probably in a month, 2 months. It depends on the progress that your business is making. It depends on the number of batches that you're processing. It depends on the number of transactions. It may be that you can have a look in a week and you can see it worked or it didn't work. Or it may be that it takes 6 months because you've only got one transaction on certain parts of the system every month. But either way, whatever you do, based on what you actually do, set a target date for review and stick to it. And if the changes were effective, of course, you keep them. If the changes that you make highlight another issue, or maybe you don't go back, but you make further changes and go forwards. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you soon.